Welcome back, everybody. It's really hard to talk about a sequel in any of the Trails arcs, and Trails to Azure is no different. It takes place just a couple of months after the events of Trails from Zero, and I'm going to do my best not to spoil the plot of either game or any of the major story elements. But I still want to talk about the major themes, want to talk about the characters, and of course, the combat. Here's my review of The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure. The special support section is back. They temporarily split it to take some time to reflect, train, and travel after the crazy events at the end of Trails from Zero. There's some new members of the special support section now who become part of the team due to their connection to the events of the previous games, and their connections to the individuals inside the special support section. In fact, as I was playing through Trails to Azure and writing some notes, the word connection came up a lot. Trails to Azure can't exist without Zero. The connections and relationships built inside Zero become an integral part of the experience for you, the player, to enjoy the world and the story of Azure. The various towns and locations share an importance to everything that is going on, to the characters, to the city-state of Crossbell, and of course, to the plot. Sometimes those character connections and interactions will have you laughing. Watching the characters that I've grown to love in Zero continue to build those relationships and friendships in Azure is a powerful part of the story and a powerful part of the experience. And some of the lines and localization is just fantastic. The chest messages had me chuckling, and there's some interesting pop culture references in this game. Mishi is love. Mishi is life. Of course, those character connections and interactions will have you, well, at least me, crying too. Azure is an emotional story with twists and turns and frustration that ultimately leads to a very satisfying experience. For the most part, it's important to realize that these games are made with a sequel in mind and a whole lore bible, if you will, of previous information. These games are all about building connections, building lore, and building story that's going to last not only in this game, but for multiple games to come. It's important to emphasize that this is the special support section's part of the story, and it's the connection between those characters and their friends that ultimately are the best part of this game. From Detective Dudley, the Crossbelly Embracers, to the performers of Arkansas, there is so much to explore and experience. There are heartfelt moments, laughs, and painful losses that kept me just wanting to complete one more quest and play one more hour. I was hooked until the very end. I think that my favorite part is probably the character growth that we see as the game continues to unfold. Again, like I mentioned, watching those relationships build and grow, watching Lloyd and Randy grow as friends, watching Tio become a little bit more of an adult, watching Ellie step out of her grandfather's shadow and really become her own person, seeing Noelle learn what it's like to leave a military organization and focus mostly on saving the world with friends. And I don't want to talk too much about Wazzy. He's an experience that you have to experience for your own. He has some amazing character moments. Don't spoil yourself, just find out when you play the game. Unlike the Sky Trilogy or even Cold Steel 1 and 2, this is the first time I ever actually began to get tired of some of the side quests, but I wanted to complete every quest through, because you get some very important accessories and quartz every time your detective rank goes up. And the more quests you complete, the more detective points you get, and the more your rank goes up. I need to play this game with all of the true gladiator belts I can possibly get. I need as much CP as possible in combat. The reason I got tired of the quest is mainly because of the physical locations. They repeat themselves a lot at the beginning of Trails from Azure. Thankfully, they give you a car and fast travel, and that helps a lot. but still, you're navigating this place on muscle memory from the beginning. Now, don't get me wrong, there are actually a lot of new places to explore and new things to experience and new characters to meet. But in the first couple of chapters, it is just full of going back to the same places that you've already been and doing something very similar to quests that you already did in Zero. But the Trails series is honestly known for this, some repetitive types of quests. If you're a fan of the series and the story, you just kind of get used to it. And I still like it, but it got a little old this time. One of the things I loved about Zero is present here in Azure as well, and that is the excellent combat system. There really aren't a lot of changes to the combat from Zero to Azure, but there have been some basic tweaks that really add to the experience, and I just want to go through those here. One, all of the members of the SSS can have dual crafts with one another. You just need to find them by unlocking them by completing side quests. Two, they added a burst mode, which gives you the ability to have multiple turns in a row after the bar depletes. This is very helpful. I would note that this burst mode is only available at the climactic ending of a particular arc or when you are facing some tougher enemies and bosses. You're gonna need it because some of the bosses in this game will kick your butt if you are not prepared. 3, they added a Master Quartz for the new Enigma 2s, which allow you to grow and unlock hidden abilities through battling over and over. These Master Quartz unlock buffs for your characters or stat increases. You can really make any character the way you want. For example, typically Ellie was my healer, Tio was my magic damage dealer, Lloyd was my tank, and Randy was my physical damage dealer. Of course, you can design and move around the quartz in the game to have multiple healers, anybody can use magic, but the Master Quartz allows you to move into a more defined and improved role. And really the final way that the combat system evolves is through your character levels. I was well over a level 100 by the time I finished this game. And so the amount of S-crafts that you unlock through leveling, the amount of good quartz that you get through grinding, through synthesizing, it just makes your characters more and more and more powerful. By the end of the game, my party was doing very well, even though it was still quite a challenge on normal mode. And honestly, that's basically it. It's your standard turn-based JRPG. And if you want to learn more details about the combat system and you haven't played Zero yet, I would recommend that you click my review for Trails from Zero up in the card. There's some new members to the special support section that can change things up, and those different party members come and go as the story progresses. But I basically built my same builds with Lloyd, Ellie, Tio, and Randy because they were the characters that I had grown to love. The other members that joined and became part of the party, I also leveled up and kitted out, but I just didn't use them as much. They weren't the characters I had those deep connections with. And really, honestly, this entire time, I was just excited. I was excited about returning characters from the previous arcs. I was excited about seeing the Zemirian Trade Conference happen from another perspective. I was excited about seeing people make connections with the special support section, seeing beloved characters from the Sky trilogy pop up in both Zero and now Azure and connect with the team. It's really incredible to realize how important Trails to Azure is to the rest of the series. It's really all about connection. The connection that you're going to have with the story, the connection that you're going to have with the characters, and the fun that you are going to have in this game if you enjoy a fantastic turn-based, story-based RPG. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see all of my Legend of Heroes reviews that I've done so far, click this playlist. And YouTube recommends that you watch this video right over here. Stay tuned to my next review, which is going to be The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3. Catch you next time.